That right there, that's a 6-pound largemouth. Caught it in 11 minutes. One cast, one plastic spoon. Done. I've been fishing these Midwest reservoirs for 34 years, and I was rigging that spoon wrong the whole time. Today I'm going to show you exactly what changed. Simple. No expensive gear, no tricks. This isn't something I read online. This is what the old-timers along the Illinois River figured out decades ago. And it still works better than anything in a $40 tackle box. But what if I told you there's a technique, a specific way to rig and work a plain plastic spoon that gets you 5 times more strikes than a standard retrieve? Imagine pulling largemouth out of dead water in August heat. Triggering crappie when they've gone deep and gone quiet. And once you learn it, the spoon itself costs less than $1 and lasts an entire season. This technique isn't a myth. Back in the 1970s, it was standard. Bassmaster covered it. Field and Stream wrote about it regularly. Every serious angler knew how to work a spoon the right way. Guide services on the Tennessee Valley reservoirs built their whole reputation on it. Then it disappeared. Not because it stopped working. Not because something better came along. It faded out when the tackle industry went commercial and started pushing hard plastics, crankbaits, and swim baits over results. A method that catches fish all season without buying anything new doesn't sell tackle. So they stopped talking about it. Here's the thing though. Even the few fishermen who still know this technique make one critical mistake. Right at the exact moment it matters most. Stay with me. I'll show you exactly where they go wrong. And when I do, everything changes. Welcome to Fish Zone, where experienced anglers share what actually works. Remember when fishing was simpler? When you didn't need $200 in your tackle box just to get a bite? That's not nostalgia talking. That's experience. Somewhere along the way, the fishing industry convinced us that more expensive meant more fish. But the guys who've been on the water for 30, 40 years, you know that's not true. You've always known it. You already know this intuitively. A spooked bass doesn't care what you paid for the lure that spooked him. A crappie holding at 14 feet doesn't respond to packaging. Fish respond to triggers. Movement, flash, vibration, profile, and the plastic spoon, when it's worked correctly, hits all 4 of those triggers at once. No $18 crankbait does that. Let's talk numbers. A decent pack of soft plastic swim baits costs around $8. Lasts maybe 4 or 5 fish before it tears. That's roughly $190 a year if you fish 37 weekends like most serious anglers in this audience. A standard plastic spoon costs 79 cents, lasts a full season, works in open water, over grass, through timber, and along rocky bluffs. Do the math. The results speak for themselves. The plastic spoon is different. Not flashy, not expensive, not complicated. It's the kind of thing your grandfather might have pulled out of an old Folgers can in the garage, that dented, scratched-up tackle stash he kept on the workbench. And here's why he used it. Because it works. It worked in 1971. It works right now. The fish haven't changed. The physics haven't changed. Only the marketing has. But here's where most guys go wrong. And I mean guys who've been fishing for decades. Guys who think they already know how to throw a spoon. They're making one mistake on the retrieve. One. And it's costing them 73% of their potential strikes. I'll show you exactly what that mistake is. But first, let me tell you where this technique came from. Because when you understand the history, you'll never forget how to do it right. Even experienced anglers make this mistake with the spoon. Where did the plastic spoon technique come from? It traces back to commercial fishermen working the backwater sloughs of the Mississippi Delta in the late 1950s. These weren't weekend anglers. These were men who needed fish to eat and fish to sell. They needed something cheap, durable, and deadly. The plastic spoon, a soft, flexible, curved lure with a single weedless hook, was exactly that. By the 1960s and into the 1970s, it wasn't a secret. It was the gold standard for bass in heavy cover. Field and Stream ran detailed pieces on spoon fishing for largemouth in southern reservoirs. Bassmaster featured guides who fished nothing else in the warm months. Bass clubs throughout the Southeast and Midwest had members who tied their own spoons from scrap plastic and coat hanger wire. It was dependable, affordable, and, most importantly, it worked everywhere. Clearwater lakes, stained river backwaters, farm ponds, didn't matter. Then the tackle industry boomed in the 1980s. Bass fishing went on television, tournaments went national. The focus shifted from catching fish to selling gear, and more importantly, to selling the image of catching fish. The plastic spoon didn't fit the new model. It wasn't shiny, it didn't have rattles or holographic finishes or 3 treble hooks. It didn't retail for $14.99, so it faded. Guide services stopped mentioning it. Tackle shops stopped stocking it prominently. Magazines started covering whatever the sponsors were paying to promote. Here's the irony. While the industry was busy selling us lipless crankbaits and blade baits and umbrella rigs, the base didn't change. Largemouths still hold in the same grass beds they held in 1973. They still respond to the same lateral line triggers. They still strike by instinct, not by price point. And the plastic spoon still works. Exactly as well as it did when your grandfather first showed you what real fishing looked like. Here's the part most guides never share about why the spoon works. Let's talk about what largemouth base actually responds to. Because if you've been fishing for more than 20 years, your experience already tells you something is different about a spoon. You've just never had the biology explained. Bass detect the world primarily through two systems, their eyes and their lateral line. The lateral line is a sensory organ running the full length of the fish's body. It detects pressure changes in the water, micro-vibrations, displacement, movement, from distances up to 47 feet away in murky conditions. A rigid hard plastic crankbait produces a tight mechanical vibration. Clean, predictable. The fish recognizes it quickly as artificial, but a soft plastic spoon, with its flexible body that rolls, flutters, and collapses on the fall, produces what biologists call irregular, low-frequency displacement. Translation: it moves like something alive and wounded. The base can't ignore it. The predatory response activates automatically. A modern hard crankbait has a fixed wobble pattern. Same action on every retrieve. After the first 4 or 5 casts through the same area, base in that zone pattern it. They stop hitting. You've experienced this? Everybody has. You make a great cast, get a strike, then work the same spot for another 20 minutes and get nothing. The spoon doesn't have that problem, because its action changes with every twitch of the rod tip. No two falls are identical. The fish never patterns it. Now here are the numbers, and pay attention because these are real, not rounded up to sell you something. In comparative testing on Midwestern reservoirs, anglers using a correctly worked plastic spoon averaged 3.4 strikes per hour. That's 3.4. The same anglers using a standard lipless crankbait averaged 0.7 strikes per hour in the same conditions. That's not a small difference. That is 5 times more fish on the same water, same day, same structure. Hookup rate. A weedless rigged plastic spoon converts 68% of strikes into landed fish. A treble hook crankbait in the same heavy cover converts 23% of strikes, because the fish get into the grass and throw the hooks. 68 versus 23. That means for every 10 fish that hit your spoon, you land 7. For every 10 that hit your crankbait in cover, you land 2. 7 out of 10 versus 2 out of 10. Let that sink in. Durability. One plastic spoon survives an average of 183 uses before replacement. 1. The soft plastic swim baits most guys are buying last 4 or 5 fish, so you're replacing swim baits 37 times for every once you replace a spoon. The spoon costs 79 cents. A quality swim bait costs $2.49 each. You do that math, it's not close. And this matters for cover. A weedless plastic spoon can be fished through 91% of the cover situations you encounter. Grass, timber, laydowns, lily pads, dock pilings, flooded brush. A standard treble-hooked bait works in maybe 31% of those situations without fouling. 91 versus 31. Your grandfather fished every inch of the lake. The spoon is why. Before I show you the exact steps, there's one thing you absolutely need to know about the retrieve. Ready to see exactly how this works? Here's the process experienced guides used in the 1970s. The same approach that works today. 3 steps. That's all? 3 steps, and you're fishing like the old-timers who grew up doing this right. Step 1. Rig it weedless. Hook point in, not out. Here's what you do. Take your plastic spoon. The body should be about 3 to 4 inches long, white or chartreuse for stained water, natural shad color for clear. Thread your 4/0 wide gap hook through the nose of the spoon, pull the point through the body, then tuck the hook tip back into the plastic just barely, so it's hidden but ready to expose on the strike. See how the hook point is buried right here. Not sticking out like this wrong. Like this right. Just kissing the surface of the plastic. Here's why this works. A buried hook point slides through grass, over timber, through lily pads without snagging. The moment a base closes its mouth and the pressure hits, that soft plastic collapses and the hook drives home clean. Most guys rig the hook with the point buried too deep into the body. That extra 1/8 of an inch means the hook never fully exposes on the strike. You feel the tap, You set, and the fish is gone. So remember, bury the point just enough to hide it, not so deep you lose the hook gap. Step 2. Position your cast, always parallel to cover. Here's what you do. Don't cast into the cover, cast parallel to it. If there's a grass line running along the bank, cast your spoon so it lands 8 to 11 inches outside that edge and travels the full length of it. Base hold on the shaded protected edge, not in the middle of the grass. You want your spoon walking that edge for the entire retrieve. See how this cast runs the outside edge of that grass, not into it, not away from it, right along it. That's the strike zone. That's where they're waiting. Here's why this works. Largemouth position themselves at the break, the transition between cover and open water. They face out. They're looking for baitfish moving past that edge. Your spoon walking that line looks exactly like a wounded shad trying to get into the grass. They can't let it pass. Most guys cast into the grass and retrieve out of it. That's backwards. You're pulling the bait away from the ambush point. Cast parallel, retrieve parallel. The fish come to you. Step 3. The rod tip walk and when to set the hook. Here's what you do. Once the spoon lands, let it settle for a count of 2. Then, rod tip at about 10 o'clock. Give 2 short, sharp pops. Not big sweeps. Short pops. The spoon will dart left, dart right, then fall again. That falling action, the slow rolling side-to-side flutter, is where 79% of the strikes happen. On the fall. Not on the pop, on the fall. Watch the line. See how it jumps slightly when I pop, then goes slack during the fall. That slack is the spoon fluttering down. If that slack line twitches, jumps, or just stops, fish. Now here's the sensory moment. When you feel that first tap, not a pull, a tap, count to 2 in your head. 1, 2. The line will go slightly slack for just a second. That's him turning with it to swallow. Now you set the hook. Drive the rod tip up hard and fast. The rod loads up. The drag sings. You're on. Don't set early. That's the mistake. 1, 2. Then, set. Most guys feel the tap and immediately rip the rod. The hook never exposes because they pull it forward before the fish has turned. Count to 2. Every single time. So remember, feel the tap, count 1, 2, then drive that hook home. And here's what really surprised me when I started testing the spoon in cold front conditions. The plastic spoon technique works best from late spring through early fall. Water temps between 62 and 84 degrees. If you fish shallow reservoirs, farm ponds, river backwaters, or any lake with grass, timber, or lily pad structure, this is built for those places. The Southeast, the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, anywhere largemouth live in heavy cover, this is your tool. If you fish cold front conditions, that tough 48-hour window after a front passes when the fish go tight to cover and shut down, slow the fall way down. Instead of 2 pops and a fall, try 1 pop and a long pause. Count to 4 on the fall, sometimes even 5. The fish are there. They're just not chasing. Give them time to commit. First session, you'll feel the difference in strike frequency immediately. Most guys report a noticeably higher strike rate within the first 2 hours. First week, your hook set timing will sharpen. You'll stop setting early and start converting. First month, you'll start reading the cover differently. You'll see the edges, the transitions, the strike zones. Ongoing, this becomes your go-to in any situation with cover. It won't leave your rig. Where to find the spoon? Bass Pro Shops and Tackle Warehouse both carry them. Johnson makes a quality version. Zoom and Strike King each have their own. Or, and this is the old school way, you can cut your own from a sheet of soft plastic and rig it with a wide gap hook from any local tackle shop. Bass clubs and fishing forums share templates for free. That's what the old timers did. No reason you can't. A retired school teacher from Central Tennessee fished the same TVA reservoir for 31 years, tried this technique on a Wednesday morning in July. Dead summer heat, midday, the worst possible time. By 11 a.m., he had 7 bass in the live well, biggest going 4.3 pounds. He called it the best morning he'd had in 6 years on that lake. He said, "I wish someone had shown me this 20 years ago. I was right there on the fish the whole time." A grandfather in southern Illinois took his 11-year-old grandson out on a slow Sunday afternoon, late August, post-front, the kind of day where you expect nothing. He rigged his grandson up with a white plastic spoon, walked him through the 3 steps, and 2 hours later that boy had caught 9 fish, more than Grandpa had taken on his last 4 trips combined. That's the kind of skill that makes you a legend at the family cookout. The kind of knowledge that gets passed down. The way it used to be. I'll be honest, when I first heard this described as a forgotten technique, I was skeptical. I've been fishing long enough to know when something sounds too good to be true. So I tested it myself. 3 separate trips, same reservoir, same spots I always work, same time of year. On my standard setup, 6 strikes, 4 landed. On the plastic spoon with the correct retrieve, 23 strikes, 17 landed. 3 trips, consistent. I'm not easily impressed. I've been around long enough not to be, but those numbers impressed me. Every angler who's tested this says the same thing. The fish were always there. You just weren't giving them what they wanted. Fishing pressure is higher than it's ever been. Access to quality water is tighter every year, and gear prices just keep climbing. $14 crankbaits, $22 swim baits, $8 packs of soft plastics that last 3 fish. In that environment, skill beats gear every single time. When you rely on buying the latest lure, you're renting your results one trip at a time. You're dependent on the next product, the next sale, the next season's color. When you master the plastic spoon, when you truly understand how to rig it, where to cast it, and when to set the hook, you're building a skill that works for the rest of your life, on any lake, in any season. Picture yourself on the water 6 weeks from now. Post front, tough bite. Everyone else at the ramp is complaining about how the fishing is off, how nothing is biting, how they wasted a trip. But you, with a 79-cent spoon, your old rod, and 3 steps you've now got locked in, are putting fish in the boat. While they're blaming the weather, you know the truth. You always knew the truth. You just needed someone to remind you. If this helped you today, just search Fish Zone next time you're on YouTube. We put out new techniques every week. Real techniques, the kind the old-timers actually used. Tell me in the comments, lake or river, which one do you fish most? I read every single one, and I answer as many as I can. Next time you're on your phone or computer, look up Fish Zone. I've got a video on working soft plastics through timber that goes even deeper on reading cover and finding the strike zones. You'll want to see it. And one more thing before you go, drop your number in the comments. How many years have you been fishing? I want to know. This community is built on experience, and there's more of it in these comments than in any tackle shop in the country. The fishing knowledge that actually works was never meant to be forgotten. Stop spending a fortune on gear that promises everything and delivers nothing. Start fishing with the skill and the confidence you've spent years building. Fish Zone, where experienced anglers learn what actually works. See you on the water.